Hello, Simon from Naked Record Club here. Glad you could join us for the Naked Q&A, coming to you today from Brighton's Prince Albert venue, which really is the best music venue in Brighton. And I should know because I played and worked here as a promoter for over 7 years, putting on some fantastic nights. And I remember the very first time that I played here, I had a band called Colourburst, and we had a new singer. We'd lost a singer over Christmas, quickly got in another one, and a manager was coming to see us. It was a big move for us at the time, and we were dreaming of record deals and whatever. Anyway, we played a gig, and for some reason our singer decides to stroll out into the crowd and hit somebody, which started a fight, and it looked like one of those westerns where people go sailing down the bar. I remember a window got smashed, the police were called. Gig was stopped. I was thinking there, I was laying on the stage in amongst all the broken equipment thinking, I think we've probably blown it with that manager. But no, he actually signed us, and that was the start of a cool chapter in the Colourburst history. But today we are here to talk to Kenneth Ishak from the Norwegian band Beezewax, whose fantastic Oh Tahoe album Naked Record Club are releasing as their second ego press in the summer of 2022. Our records are manufactured in a carbon neutral factory in the Netherlands by Deep Grooves, and we are the only eco record club in the world. I'm really excited to talk to Kenneth, big fan of the man. He's made some brilliant records over the years, probably none more so than Oh Tahoe, so got lots of questions for him. And I'm not sure if he's aware, but I think this connection, which we'll go into during the interview, between him, his family, and Brighton, and maybe this venue, which he might not be aware of. So join us for the Naked Q&A. Kenneth.
Hi.
How you doing?
Pretty good, a little bit haggard, but
Life on the road.
yes.
Welcome to the Naked Record Club interview.
Thank you.
We are releasing your fantastic Oh Tahoe album on eco vinyl, manufactured in a carbon neutral factory in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that?
Really good, and it's sort of I would never have thought that would happen. Especially around the time that we were making the record, I guess.
Is it 2002,
2001,
Yeah. Vinyl was kind of...
Well, not just vinyl, it's that it would be released 20 years after. So that's pretty incredible for me, or for us. So it's
But today we're in Brighton, obviously,
Yes.
which I know has relevance for you, which we'll get to later on.
Yeah.
But the Albert is a place where I played and promoted many gigs. But although you've played a lot of Brighton gigs, you've not actually played this one, have you?
Never here.
We'll
It's
have
a
to
lovely
change that.
room. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to change that. We'll talk to Will later on about
Yeah.
the next tour maybe coming here, because it's one of those places that's a real venue. It's not just a room that's been converted to put live music
Yeah.
on. I've seen some amazing stuff over the years.
I can imagine, yeah.
Let's get started. I want to take you back.
Okay.
Norwegian descent, and you grew up in, was it Moss?
Moss, yeah.
Now, was that the whole band or was that just you?
We grew up in this little place outside of Moss called Øråsen. So me and the drummer, we were in one level above the guitar player and the bass player.
Right.
And the drummer and the guitar player, they were cousins. So we basically started out doing. So you learned the guitar in school, but everyone was sitting around playing guitar, playing Beatles and stuff
Yeah.
in classroom. Like everyone, all the girls, boys. And then at the youth club, they had a band room. And so we started. Actually, me and the guitar player, we'd been in bands before, like since we were like 8.
8?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We did, because I have an older brother who was really into Eric Clapton, the Cream especially, and I really liked the Cream, or Cream.
Yeah.
So we did covers, Cream covers and stuff like that when we were like 8, 9, 10.
Incredible.
Did shows and stuff, like with wah-wahs and just playing guitar solos and. But then the whole grunge thing happened, and we obviously got really into that.
Yeah.
And skateboarding. That's when we started doing more like alternative music, and there was a lot of really good. There was a really good rock scene in Moss. So the older generation, when they heard us, when we had become Beeswax, they were like super supportive.
How old were you when you became Beeswax?
I think we were like 15
Wow.
or 16.
But you'd already been playing for virtually half your
Yeah,
life at
yeah.
that point in
Yeah.
some way,
Yeah,
shape,
yeah,
or
yeah.
form. So let's talk about the mid 90s. I'm guessing you'd have been a teenager.
Yeah.
What sort of music had you progressed to listening to, let's say 1995-ish?
I think we got a lot of music off of skate films. So it would be because the skate companies couldn't afford to license mainstream music, so they had to like find stuff that they liked.
It's Norwegian skate companies,
No, American.
Oh,
So
okay.
you would always
Right.
be like 2 years behind, but because it took a while because they to reach Norway. But it would be like especially Dinosaur Jr., Lemonhead's Replacements, and then realized Big Star had been a thing. So those sort of kind of noisy indie rock bands, Husker Du, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, these are all American. So was there any, in England at the time, we were talking the rise of Britpop. Did that play into
Yeah, we
what
were
you
not
liked at
really
all?
into that. Or me, I wasn't really into that stuff. It was basically American music.
Yeah,
I really liked that band Deus from Belgium,
yeah,
and a
fantastic
lot
band.
of like Swedish bands who I guess were, well, they might have been inspired by American and UK bands. But yeah, I think the idea with the band was sort of Dinosaur Jr. with more like not as whiny vocals, just like straight
Yeah,
singing.
yeah.
Um, the Posies, after a while, became a thing for us. Buffalo Tom. And at the same time, we were also like really into Neil Young and all the older stuff
Yeah.
that inspired the contemporary music. Uh, it was a big thing, and there was like a really, really good record store in Moss.
I was going to ask you about record stores. So
Yeah,
there were, because we're talking pre-internet really, and
yeah,
not that many people have mobile phones mid 90s still.
yeah,
So you would have, I'm guessing, either found out about music from the skate thing you were into, which seemed like quite a big thing at the time, a
yeah,
very punk rock
yeah.
sort of thing to be
I
doing.
was more a skater than like a music person. Yeah,
Got some good tricks.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When's the last time you got on a
I was
skateboard?
never. I've never been talented, but I could skate
Yeah,
a bit. Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, so there was like this really good record store where like the guy he had been a lot of bands in Moss and I remember going up to him and saying, "Hey, do you have any Big Star?" And he was just like, because I was maybe 15,
Yeah,
and he's just
yeah,
like, "What is this?
yeah.
Why is this kid asking about that obscure band?" And he's just like, "Hold on." And then he just took out a bunch of CDs, like maybe 10. He said, "Take these home, listen to them. If you like any of the stuff, buy it. Like, you should listen to this."
Wow.
It was amazing.
Is that record store still there?
No, but it was there for quite a
Long
while.
time.
And the
Yeah.
guy, he started writing for the local newspaper as a music journalist. So we've done a lot of interviews with him. I remember we played in London and he came down. Maybe he lived there. I don't know. But he was like present, like into our whatever career that we had as a band. And I'm really grateful that he,
What were your first live gigs as Beeswax? Are we talking that sort of era?
yeah.
Mid
I
90s?
think our first show was in either 94 or 95, and it was basically, we'd maybe been playing for 4 weeks.
Right.
And, but I had sort of a bunch of songs that I'd been like after like the post grunge thing. Because like our first bands were like I was screaming and like trying to do all that stuff, but I couldn't. I was really bad. it's embarrassing, but so I had written like a bunch of songs which I was like, it was melodic and it wasn't me screaming, and I was really into Motown when I was a kid.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I can actually just sing
Yeah.
like the soul like that way
Yeah.
instead of trying to be this.
Wrecking your voice trying to do the
Yeah,
scream
yeah,
that
yeah.
only a few people can
It would
do.
not
Yeah.
crack. It was, and still to this day, it
Yeah.
doesn't crack. It's
You
just,
just get a sore throat.
yeah. No. It doesn't crack up. But anyway, so the first show was at this youth center that we were just asked if we wanted to play because someone knew someone, and it was on the other side of town, and they were like, yeah, why not? You know,
How did it go?
it went really well, and I have footage from it. It was,
Oh,
and I
wow.
got to see it not too long ago. We play like a Neil Young song, we play a Cure song.
What Cure song? One of my favorites.
Oh, it's probably Just Like Heaven,
Yeah.
like a cover of Dinosaur Jr.'s cover of.
Yes, of
And
course.
I
Which
think
is
it was
fantastic.
Fucking Up by Neil Young. And we were, at that time we were a trio, and I saw it. I was like, this is actually pretty good. I was really surprised that it was pretty. Singing in tune, we were in tune, tight, and like really like digging into it. So I was when I saw it, I was like, wow, this. I don't know.
Was this the band that would go on to make a dozen summits?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's 1997.
Yeah, so we recorded that one in '96. Maybe we even started in '95 and then '96. So that was like a local, kind of like a hardcore label who signed us.
Was this Lanugo or what?
Lanugo, yeah.
Lanugo. Right.
Um, which was really big for us. They
Yeah.
were like, we're gonna give you like a month of studio time to make a record. We're gonna print the CD. So yeah, that was the same bunch of guys. So we would go after school, take the bus out to Sarpsborg, like 30 minutes away, and just record after school.
That's
Basically,
amazing.
yeah.
There's not many bands that can say that. They finish with the schoolwork. Just going to make an album now.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
rock history now.
I think we were so awkward and weird that we didn't really talk too much about it with our classmates. But yeah, that's what we did.
Did you get to play outside of Norway with that album when it came out?
Yeah, because and then I think there was this band in Moss who were like really supportive. They were like a pop punk band called Yum Yums, and they were like, "Hey, do you guys want to come and?" Because they were all saying like they heard us play at the local rock club, which is called Blinken, uh, which is like this really old place, really cool. And we would rehearse there and also work there sometimes when there were
Right.
shows. So
Right.
we would see bands like Braid, Karate, just like international bands coming through town.
I was going to say, did many international bands actually stop off
Yeah,
in your part?
and because the guy who booked the shows was the same guy who run the label. So these were
Right.
all
Okay.
older people being really influential and helpful and encouraging on our part. So so the first shows were sort of in Moss, and then we played one support gig in Oslo at this really cool place called Last Train, where we couldn't go inside just when
young.
we played. After we played, we could go to the bathroom, but we had to,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we were just 16, and that I remember that being really like, I remember walking off stage, and this like older guy at the bar, he's probably like 10 years younger than me now, but he was sitting there with his long coat and looking really sort of intimidating, and he
Yeah.
just like grabbed me, and I was like, oh shit. And he just said that was really good. And I was like,
You've made it. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was pretty cool. And then after the record came out, we had like a release party in Moss. And by then, a lot of people in Moss were like excited about our band, both young and older people. So that was it was sold out, and people were so excited and sort of proud that we had made this record. And then we got invited to play in the UK because for some, the label people said we're selling a lot of records in the UK, and the guy who's running the distribution in the UK is like, you might want to get him over here.
Yeah.
And when they told us that, we were like, what? Because we were still in high school, sort of. So it was like weird. And then, yeah, we hadn't even toured in Norway yet, so we got invited to go to the UK, and we did. We did not know what we were getting into, and
Did you get to stay in the venues this time? Did you pretend to be 18, or did you look ridiculously young?
I don't know, but this time I think we had turned 18.
Right.
So like we all had passport, it was all good. But we flew over, and I just remember standing outside the airport in Leeds, I think, and just like we were kind of looking around, like maybe this was all a joke, because no one was showing up. And then the van shows up with these Northern Britons who were like,
You're going to get an education there.
We had never like talked to people like that before. We were like these quiet, awkward kids from Oslo, and then these guys come up. And then I remember the first show in Newcastle was in Newcastle with Spy vs. Spy, and there's like a poster in the venue which just said like Beezewax, Norwegian emo. And I was like, what is emo? Like we didn't know what that was.
After this, obviously this is like a real baptism of fire for you. We get to the second album, which is South of Boredom.
Yeah.
And you work with Ken Stringfellow, which you mentioned earlier, Posies. I love Posies too. If we can get them on Naked Record Club, we will hopefully do that one day.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did that union happen?
So that was just the guitar player. He was a huge fan, and he had an older brother who was just like feeding him with music. And so I remember, like, because everyone was just like, hey, you guys sound like Teenage Fan Club. And I'd be like, oh, what is that? And I checked it out. I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. Same with the Posies.
Yeah.
Because of the noisy stuff and the sort of more like straight vocals on top. But I think we just went and saw them, and we talked, and I think he had heard the first record, and he was like really psyched to do it.
Did they come to Norway? Did they?
Yeah.
Right.
And so he came, like he was touring with REM, and then they had their last show in Oslo, I think. And then we picked him up, and we went to the studio and stayed there for like a month and made the record. So yeah, we did the record with him, and then that record.
You toured that one too?
Yeah, that record did pretty well. I mean, it sold well in sort of our world. And we got invited to the US, to Europe, Japan.
Great.
It was just crazy, and we still hadn't started the tour in Norway.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, people really liked it. And also, like, there was like, we were on top of that listen.com, this American site, like this week's favorite song, whatever. And I remember newspapers in Norway calling me and be like, hey, did you realize that you are, because we didn't have any management.
Right.
Everything was just me and with a little help from the drummer. And I wasn't trying to, we didn't know that labels hired promotion companies and stuff like that. We were totally
the whole machine. You wouldn't be aware of,
because we were just working with labels like in Japan, and I guess they had PR companies, and maybe the UK one and the US one had, but we didn't know about these things. We just sent them the record, a couple of band photos, and a bio, and that was it.
That was it.
And then you go play, and we loved that.
Oh, how simple.
Yeah.
So you come back from being on the road with the second album. You're writing and skating You've not been to further
So I
education?
think after the second record, things got a little bit more. I think that's when we sort of had our first meeting with sort of the adult life. Like, but yeah, the after we had done a lot of shows with that record, going back to the UK, Europe, Japan, and the US. Um, I think the other guys, I was very determined because I knew with that record we got even more interest in the band, and I mean, we basically sort of reached our goal, which was to become a band that we would go and see.
Yeah.
Like a band who attracted maybe like 150 people in different towns around the world and had like really um, like proper fans. Like
Yeah.
people really loved your band. As like next to like people who love our record and love Dinosaur Jr. I was like mind blown by that. Um, and I think they were like the other guys were also sort of determined, but I think they would have been just happy still just practicing. But I was getting more into like I really wanna have a go at this. And so was the drummer. So we became a little bit more serious about how we ran the band, but we were still just like 21, 22.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're on your third album already. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's quite something.
Yeah, I remember that because writing for Oh Tahoe, I had really gotten into Pet Sounds. And I think he was 21 or 22, 23 when he wrote that. Or maybe,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. I mean,
yeah,
Brian Wilson was incredibly, you take it for granted now that
yeah,
he wrote these songs, but if you go back in time, it's like,
yeah.
wow, how old was he when he did
So I
these?
tried to
Yeah.
sort of just be like, you should set the bar higher and just like really go for something. Um, and sort of had him as like a strong inspiration, but also like, hey, don't just muck about, just like really try to make a good batch of songs.
Yeah, I think there's an incredible jump between the first two albums and the third one.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I
Yeah.
dislike the first two because I don't.
No,
Second
no.
one, I think, especially, is a really, really good album, and I
Mm.
know it's popular, the most popular for a lot of fans.
Mm.
But I think with Otaho, there's this incredible jump. It may just be I like it more. I don't know, but it just me. I think every song on the album is brilliant. I think it's fantastically realised, brilliantly sung. Melodies are great.
Mm.
It's just this is why we're releasing the
Yeah,
album because
yeah,
it
yeah,
really is
yeah,
a brilliant album, and
yeah,
I hope we can reintroduce it or introduce it to people for the first time
yeah.
because it's a big world and you can't play everything all the time. So it's interesting that you say that. Do you remember? Did the songs take longer to write, or did you just sort of get on it and?
Um, I might have not. I might have like just had song ideas and not just like finish them immediately. I'll be like, okay, what could this
Yeah,
actually be? So I think I just worked a lot more with the songs on my own.
right.
So arranging everything, having ideas for like bass lines and then I would show it to them. But yeah, it took longer and knowing that there was going to be a lot of people who were going to hear this record,
Yeah, sure.
I was like, it was an amazing situation to be in for me because I was in like a really nice relationship with a girl. We lived in Oslo. I had work that was fine. And then I would just have this to focus on and knowing that after we've done this, we're going to go travel and meet people and people are going to listen to the record and also in Norway for some reason by then the whole like music scene had started to pick up on like, hey, this we weren't aware that this band is from Norway and is traveling the world and has a lot of fans and we haven't what is this?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they started I think there was like some management and stuff so stuff
yeah.
happened and
Because it's the complete opposite of what a band normally does. You
hmm,
play in your hometown, for example, being here in Brighton, a band would play here and play every venue they could play,
yeah,
building a fan base while they're writing songs that could be construed for
Yeah.
a first album. Of course, with you've done it without kind of any help from Norway at all.
Yeah.
If you tour Norway, or back in that era, were there how many dates would be a Norwegian tour?
Well, I mean, we would just we played Oslo and play in Bergen and Trondheim, maybe a couple of other smaller towns, but basically those two towns, and play at like student places. And it was amazing. And by then we had sort of people in Norway had discovered us through maybe foreign media or music outlets.
Where did you record the album?
So we recorded it in Stockholm in the studio was owned by the Hives.
Right. Another great band.
Yeah. So Pelle Gunnefelt was.
I'm glad you said that, not me.
Yeah. He was the producer of guitar player from Fireside, was also a great band, and produced Star Market, and we were sort of affiliated with them and knew them a little bit. Loved their records. And also we were all sort of excited about the idea of going to Stockholm.
Yeah.
And staying there for a month. So we got in touch with him, and he was kind of a weird guy. But we stayed there for a month. It was pretty crazy. And we just slept in the studio and partied and recorded it. It had like a mini ramp in the big control room, in the big live room, and pianos, synths, all the stuff that we sort of needed, that I thought that we would need. But still, like when we got there, some of the songs the band hadn't heard yet. So we got there and we just started working, and the guy Pelle, I know that now, like looking back, that he wasn't actually producing. He was doing a great job at engineering, but he was really quiet, and like I remember doing vocal takes and I'd be like, hey, so what do you think? And he was like, what do you think? I was like, I don't know. And he just looked at me, like dead eyes, and I was like, do you want to do the next song? I was like, sure. So I think some of the songs I don't think he was excited about them at all.
Right. Okay.
And other songs he was really excited about. And that's when he really produced. And sometimes he wouldn't come in, there would be this other guy, Johan, and he was excited about everything. He was such a sweet guy. And I met Johan, the stand-in engineer, not too long ago, and he now plays bass in Hives. Yeah, and he was like, Kenneth. I was like, yeah. And we just started talking about the recording, and I was like, why didn't he show up like the producer guy? And he was just like, oh, he was just a star. So, and it was cool. He was nice.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away, but I think unknowingly I was producing the record.
Right.
A lot of it. And I had made all of the arrangements beforehand. Like I remember this one song called Brighton Concord, which is like a piano waltz.
Yep.
And the other guys, I played the demo in the studio, and they were like, what is this?
Yeah.
They didn't want to do it. And I just said, well, can we just record it and you play these parts? And I think it's going to be cool.
And of course it is. It is one of the standout tracks
on
the album. And I'm so glad you've come around to this.
Yeah.
Intruding. But there is a story. Obviously, we're in Brighton.
Yeah.
The Brighton Concord is a music venue.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's now the Concord 2, but there was a Concord 1.
Yeah.
Which holds special significance for you.
Yeah.
Because
my dad and my mom, they met there.
Yes. Your mum's Norwegian, your dad's Malaysian.
Yes.
Yeah. And they met in Brighton.
Yeah.
Randomly. What were they doing in Brighton?
My dad was a student, so he moved there just after high school, and he was studying and partying, I guess.
If he's in Brighton, he was definitely partying.
Yeah, he was like friends with that band. Is it Hot Chocolate? Like that disco band?
Yeah.
So and he would go to the dog track, and I've seen photos. And my mom, she worked for this hotel that had a lot of celebrities stay. So she and her friend, they just like moved down from Norway. I don't know, to work and experience something else. So she has like letters from Sean Connery, and like she's met a lot of But she would like give them breakfast and stuff.
Yeah,
all the time,
yeah.
Then I think they met, and then eventually my dad sort of convinced her that he was the right guy for her, and they married in the UK and stayed for a while, and then moved to Norway when they were having their first kid, my brother.
So, what era would they have been at the Brighton Concord? There was a reason.
I guess the late 60s.
Wow.
I
Okay.
know mom, she went and saw, she has seen Jackson 5, I think, the Beach Boys. My dad went and saw The Who. So I think it was a pretty happening time here.
Yeah. Well, the Concord, that Brighton Concord, the
Yeah.
original Concord, ended up. It was a 60s venue, as you said. It went through the 70s and the 80s, and I believe at some point in the late 80s, the owner of this place was the owner of that place.
Oh, really?
So that's a nice bit of
Wow,
symmetry today.
okay.
Earlier on, I did a
Yeah.
little bit to camera before you got here, saying I don't think you'll realise this, but there is a lineage because Chris, who owns this place,
Yeah.
did own the Concord. I don't think
Wow.
he'd have been doing it in the 60s. I can't remember when he
Okay,
came in. I
okay.
couldn't find out in time.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not in today, so I was going to ask him, but
Yeah.
there is a definite lineage because
Wow.
obviously there was a Concord too, but the Albert is part of that.
Wow.
So
Pretty
there you go, back
Yeah,
here
yeah.
again, and
Yeah, yeah.
still being drawn back to the same
Yeah, yeah.
things, which is great.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking about Brighton Concord as a
Yeah.
song, which is a
Yeah,
beautiful song, and it
I
is
don't
slightly different to.
I don't remember that many details from recording the record, but I remember setting up, and I was at this little weird piano, and the drummer was like playing a waltz, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's when the producer sort of Pelle, he was like, "What is this?" And so we recorded like um, the main instruments like guitar, bass, drums, piano live, and still we were like 21, so everyone's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a cigarette." You're just thinking about yourself constantly. I
Yeah.
gotta go to the bathroom. I need to get a drink. You're always just like. But then we walked into the control room and he just pressed play, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is pretty cool. What is this?" Because it didn't sound like, because he's such a specific. He has like a specific sound, Pelle, and it just sounded like there was a lot of room mics, and he
Yeah.
has.
So it's live setting. It wasn't like a horrible FM ballad or something like that. It captured with the
Yeah, it was
ambience
just
of the
like
room.
it sounded
Yeah.
big, and I was like, "This is what I had in mind."
Crossed the line and became a friend, and you're all on the white telephone.
And then I sort of started saying to them like, "Yeah, my plan is to get this on and get this on, and I think it's going to be really cool." And the engineer, the Pelle, he sort of helped me do that stuff. I remember I play like on like an acoustic guitar. I play like I do like drum rolls with pens to get the whole like weird carousel sound.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember him saying like he was like I was there doing it. He was miking it up, and he looked at me and he just said, "Huh, I should have come up with that, not you." So he was like, I think he got a little bit like, he was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So he got
Yeah.
a little bit more into like the whole record by then. And then we just kept going with that song to like adding all like the glockenspiels and all that weird stuff and Jan Erik, the bass player, we were like really going for doing backup vocals, but not like straight backup vocals, like more sort of complex things.
Yeah.
So we worked on that. Everyone got pretty excited, and that sort of helped get the other songs to a certain, like another level than just being rock songs.
It sounds like you were kind of growing up as you recorded that record, or the band
Yeah,
was
yeah.
kind of growing up. You were capturing it in weird time,
Yeah.
real time in a weird sort of way.
Yeah.
You were doing that.
Definitely. Everyone had like a routine, and I was just like, I was really enjoying like just looking over his shoulder, seeing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Recording wise, and you had people come in, like the guy from I remember the singer from the Hives. He came out he came in to hang out one day, and he was super nice. But I remember they had like this book of all the bands who kind of recorded,
Yeah.
like a diary. So he would open it, and we were just sitting having breakfast. He was like, "Hey guys," he opened the book, and he's like, "Beeswax, what is that?" And they looked at Pelle, and we were like, "Yeah, it's a pretty bad name."
Do you have any other favourite songs? I mean, you talked about Brighton Concord, but any other songs that have always been a favourite for you? From that album?
I like for this record, it's more, I like the first song, All the Overseas. I think that's really, I don't know, I like it. And we still, before this hiatus that we're on now, we would play that every night, and it was a cool thing to play. Liked it. Yeah, I like by Concord. I like that song Ballad of the Beaches.
Mhm.
And the last song we used to talk about the
Yeah,
future.
that's one of my favourites. Yeah.
That I think that sort of encapsulates the mindset of us then being
was going on.
22 and
Yeah.
like shit, things are kind of hard. Like life isn't sort of like that sort of innocence had gone and but yeah, I really like that song, and we would always play that one live.
I'd like to talk to
Yeah.
you about Phone Booth Minutes, because that was the
Well,
first time I ever
think,
heard that song.
yeah,
That was one that really grabbed me. When I
Mm.
had that promo I picked up at a record fair,
Yeah.
didn't know who you were at that point. I thought, Oh Tahoe, that was like a good album.
Yeah.
I should say I totally embarrassed myself when I first started speaking to Kenneth, because I always thought Oh Tahoe was actually called Oh Tahoe because it was some sort of swear word that wasn't a swear word. And he was very nice. I think for about an hour, you and your brother Andre, who was also on the call, didn't mention it, but you kind of go every time I said it. So
No, I didn't.
No, anyway, but that song,
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
that's a hell of a song.
We would always play that last live and totally go nuts, and people really like that.
Does somebody play a beat too much on that?
Sorry?
Does somebody play a beat too much right at the end of it? I had this argument with a friend of mine who used to say, "Yeah, but listen, there's a mistake at the end," and I could never hear it. But apparently, it's
Yeah, on guitar. It was supposed to be like a
yeah,
a quick
and someone just
dramatic
went one
stop.
more.
Yeah, that's the
God, that
guitar
means they
player.
were
That's the
right and I
guitar
was
player
wrong.
with that's Thomas with a. He was probably like, "Who?"
But it's brilliant. But this
Yeah,
person
yeah.
said to me, "No, it's definitely a mistake," and I was like, "No, it's not. They meant that to happen."
No, it's a
And I'm
mistake.
like, okay, but what a song!
Hmm.
What a song! That honestly, I heard
Yeah, I
that.
really like that one, and that's sort of. I remember also like when we recorded it, it was very sort of. And the other guys were really into that song, and that was inspired by touring with Spirus to Spy and other bands that we were not into
Yeah,
before we started touring, and there would be like these amazing support bands and or bands that we supported for. It did more sort of like a had it was just noisier and
Yeah.
heavier and more
Sure.
intense, and I think that song was really inspired by Sonic Youth more than anything. Yeah.
let's talk about the record. Came out again on different labels.
Mm.
The Norwegian version was a different running order as well.
Yeah.
What was the idea behind that?
So that wasn't us.
That wasn't you?
No. So by then we had started to work. Like yeah, we were gonna do this record with a Norwegian label,
Right.
which would be the first Norwegian label since doing the first one with Lanugo, like the local label. So it was released by Houston Party in Spain and Europe, and they would do stuff like sub pop stuff in Europe. Firefly Records in the UK, Casual Recordings in Sweden, Painted Sky in Japan.
Right.
But did not have like a US label for this one, which was
Crazy, really, because I
kind of a bummer for us. But we did have a label, but then they sort of pulled out in the end, and that
you're
was
Pop
too
Kid
late.
rather than
Yeah,
Sue,
I
didn't
think
you?
they
Yeah.
were supposed to do it, and therefore I didn't sort of try to get another one. But they were all, so the system was they would pay like a licensing fee, and we used all the money for recording. So
Right.
all of this money that they give, or yeah, licensing fee.
Yeah.
I was just like going like email. Okay, can we get a licensing fee, £2,000? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Send. Yes, that should be fine. I'm like, we got it.
Hang on, have you just done that with us as well?
No,
I'm joking.
no, and then we took all our money together. Like, okay, we can go and record someplace for 6 weeks and
Buy some cigarettes. Let's go.
smoke a lot of cigarettes and drink. So
So what's the concept with starting with? It was Brighton Concord, wasn't it? Did you have
oh
some-
yeah. To be honest, I don't remember either of the running orders because I get confused.
And we've changed it again now.
Yeah.
But that was for vinyl.
I think that's
We
better.
Squish it
Basically,
to
it
one
was
side,
like this really cool woman, Marit Carlsen, who was a radio presenter and like a really cool, basically just music person. She had a label and she really wanted to do our band. And we were also talking to the major labels in Norway, but we sort of felt that we should go. We still wanted to license our records out, so doing it with a major would mean, you know, Warner Music UK would never release Beezewax and promote it. And we wanted to go abroad. So we did it with her, and she was very much sort of, she had a lot of opinions and thoughts, and I don't know, I was just like, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So she put Brighton Concord first, and also that became like a sort of like a radio hit. It was on the radio for like months.
In Norway.
In Norway, and then it came out. That was the first song, and people, yes, I kind of understood it, but at the same time, it is kind of weird having different running orders.
Well, I'm trying to hide this from you.
Whoa.
This is, everybody, been hiding this from Kenneth behind me. This is the test press. There are only
Jesus.
3 in the world. But that's obviously our running order, which we've changed track
Yeah.
6 and 7 round, just so it fitted onto vinyl a bit
Amazing.
easier. So that's it. And that is the non-toxic, recyclable vinyl, although rather than bury it in your garden, I think put it on your turntable if you can. Obviously, we're doing transparent vinyl with you, so that'll be see-through, but the test presses are always like that. And
This is amazing.
yeah, and that's
Thank
it.
you so much.
No, thank you. We are
Wow.
so excited. We're so pleased that you're doing this record. It's great because for me it's weird. I've been buying vinyl since 1979, and of course your album. I could never get this album on vinyl.
Yeah.
So I never thought from that day of getting the promo copy at a record fair that it would be down to us to put the vinyl version out. It's really
crazy.
kind of quite freaky, but yeah, brilliant at the same time. So that's it. There's only 3 in the world at the moment.
Cool.
Okay, and you've got one. I can't remember where the other one's going. It's going to our PR guy or something.
Yeah,
So that's it. So yeah, brilliant. It had a bit of a near miss. I flew in yesterday, and a bottle of water exploded in my bag. And the first thing I thought was, no, the test press. But luckily, it was under my clothes.
Okay.
So I'd sort of tried to keep it as safe as I could.
Good.
So it kind of got away. There's a little bit on the sleeve there, but apart from that, it's kind of like, yeah, it's there. So,
Nice.
well, that sounds like the sort of time we should bring this to a close. We've got one more thing for you to do, the Naked Confessional, which I will talk to you about in a minute.
Yeah.
But for listeners, viewers, if you want a copy of this Beezewax album, there are only 500 in the world, not including that one. So go over to nakedrecordclub.com and order your copy as soon as you can. And Kenneth, I want to say thank you so much for
Thank you, man.
all the time today that you put in and all the work that we've done bringing this together. I'm so excited it's going to be out. So thank you. And good luck with your Brighton show tonight.
Thank you.
So welcome back to the Naked Confessional. Don't worry, this is a really short section. The confessional is a series of questions which we ask our lovely artists to answer as quickly, as succinctly as possible without really thinking about it. It was adapted from an old Victorian parlour game, and also the James Lipton After Studio interviews, which always ended by asking actors a series of the same questions. We've obviously updated it with some Naked Record Club questions. So, Kenneth,
Yeah.
your biggest fault?
Fault. Like as a personality.
One word answers, remember?
Okay.
You're gonna have to go quick.
Restless.
Greatest virtue?
Virtue. What is that? What does that actually mean?
Kind of like a good thing, the thing that kind of not the thing you're best at, but something that's in you that's very good.
Um.
Something like loyalty would be. Something like that.
I don't know how to put it in one, but I'm pretty. I'm always sort of feeling out what people in the room are feeling, like
Empathy.
receptive. Yeah.
Receptive. Okay.
Or yeah,
Your favourite word?
aubergine.
Very good. That was quick. Your least favourite word?
In English,
Or Norwegian? Norwegian would sound more interesting.
I'm gonna say subsequently.
Oh. Okay. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Ocean.
And you live by the ocean?
Yep.
You do. There's not a question. I'll get told off for asking you that. Right. What turns you off?
Which isn't the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Food.
Okay. Your idea of happiness.
What do you mean by turns you on?
Turns you off, that was.
Turns me off.
Yeah, you said food.
Oh, okay.
I thought you had a
No,
problem with food
no,
there,
no,
and
no,
I didn't
no,
want to
no.
go into it.
I thought you
We
said
could go
on.
into it. No.
What turns me off? People who don't listen.
Pardon? Your idea of happiness.
Skateboarding every day
At 44.
till you die.
Fair enough. Your idea of misery.
Bad food.
Bad food. Bad aubergine. If you were a colour, what would it be?
Turquoise.
What's your favourite swear word?
I think since I had kids, I'll go like, if I bang my head at home, I'll go like, motherfucker. I really like that. But the other day, that happened, and my oldest son, he's 8, he was like, Dad.
Right.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, so that's off the table too. I don't know. I'm gonna have to learn some French words.
What's a good, actually this isn't on the book, what's a good Norwegian swear word?
There is this band called Brutal Kuk, which is in dialect. It's basically brutal cock.
Great. If you could work with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
The music.
Mm.
It's a hard question.
For a quick answer.
I think I would like to have Brian Wilson produce songs I'd written in like 1968 or something like that. Yeah.
Tell us a secret about yourself.
I don't read books.
If heaven exists, this is the last one. What would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
There's a beach here.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay.
Kenneth, it's been a real pleasure.
Likewise.
Good luck, and we're really looking forward to releasing Oh Tahoe, not Oh Tahoe, and I'm sure we'll all be seeing you again very soon. But for now, this is the end of the Naked Q&A for today. Beezewax 002. Oh Tahoe is out. Have a look online at nakedrecordclub.com and order your copy. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.